And I'll invite our speakers up here. Please join me up here. Then you don't have to run up at the time we're ready to get going. I'm Jennifer DiCabella, CEO here at Hennepin Healthcare, and I want to thank you for joining us. I can't say enough how important it is to demonstrate when we work together, we can make a difference. And today I'm super excited to talk about the NextStep Violence Prevention Program, because what you will see is that this is all levels of government, community, and health system working together to make sure we create a safe environment, we're supporting each other, and we're making a difference in our community. So I am so grateful to have leaders from the city, the county, the state, and at the federal level all working together to support our incredible teams who are working so closely with community. And you will hear from all of them today. And with that, I will pass off to Mayor Frey.
Thank you so much. A big thank you to our CEO of Hennepin Health, Jennifer DiCabella. She's been doing such an incredible job at forging some of these incredibly important partnerships between the city and the county and the state and the federal government to make sure that wonderful programs like NextStep cannot just come to fruition, but can thrive in extraordinary fashion. And I think this is a program that we're seeing some incredible results on. We all know that the work of violence prevention and safety, it takes partnerships. And we all know that in order to set those partnerships up, it takes a whole lot of strategic work and organization. On the city side, we've been providing a comprehensive approach to public safety through a new Office of Community Safety, headed up by our Commissioner, Cedric, who you are going to hear from shortly. But a lot of this work has been ongoing. Even if some of it has been siloed at times, it's been ongoing. I want to give a huge thank you to our Director of Neighborhood Safety, in Josh Peterson. He's been someone that has worked on this program of NextStep since its inception. And it's a program that is getting results. Over the last 6 years, there have been 900 people served by NextStep. 900 people served. Of those that come in with a gunshot wound and are admitted to either Hennepin Health or Abbott Northwestern or North Memorial, about 75% of them get some form of contact from the NextStep hospital-based intervention. And let me explain what that touch looks like. Someone has come into the hospital with oftentimes a severe or even life-threatening gun wound. They're in a hospital bed. That is perhaps a worst moment of your entire life. And importantly, it's a great opportunity to make a change. And so when you have someone at your bedside that wants to help, do you need a job? Do you need a place to live? Do you need additional supports? That offer of assistance goes a whole lot further, not just for that particular individual that is in the emergency room. It goes a whole lot further for our entire community, because hurt people hurt people. And if we truly want to interrupt the cycle of violence, we need to make sure that we're stopping it getting in right after one of these incidents happens, or even before, which is what violence prevention is all about, and making sure that that same cycle of violence does not happen again. That's what NextStep is all about. I mentioned that 75% of the people that are admitted to those 3 hospitals get some form of service or assistance from NextStep, or at least an offer to get that service or assistance. 40% of them are taking them up on their offer. So 40% of those individuals are saying, yes, I want to go down the road of getting that job or getting that care, finding that new apartment. And of that 40%, only 3% are finding themselves back in the hospital for same or similar reasons. That is an incredible statistic, because the rate of recidivism without that touch is much, much higher. We want to be using a data-driven approach. We want to have a solutions-oriented process, and this perhaps is one of the best ways to get us there. And so a big thank you to our CEO in Jennifer DiCabella, our new chair of Hennepin County Board Chair in Irene Fernando. And by the way, congratulations. The work going on over at Hennepin County and the partnership between the two is so incredibly important. Also, we would not be able to continue this program in full and expand on this program without federal funding. And our Congresswoman here, and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, stepped up to get an additional $500,000 in a federal grant for 2022 for that NextStep program. Finally, this work, it wouldn't happen without just a day-to-day grind at the city and making sure that our teams are all inspired. And again, big thank you to Josh Peterson, was there at the inception. This program is very much something that has been pushed by him and his team from the get-go, and the whole crew over at Department of Neighborhood Safety has been behind that effort. This is important to ensure that all communities throughout our city are safe. It's going to take all of us. We're really proud of the work, and I appreciate everybody's presence here. And with that, I will turn it over to our Hennepin County Board Chair, Commissioner Irene Fernando. Commissioner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Commissioner Irene Fernando, but you can call me Commish. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the youngest woman to serve on the Hennepin County Board, the first Filipino American elected in the state, and I'm the first person of color to serve as board chair since Hennepin's founding in 1852. I was inspired to run and be in this job to advocate for those who are marginalized or structurally disenfranchised. And so I'm incredibly proud to get to be here with partners, with community members, because we are doing something good. We are doing something that is helpful. At the same time, I have to first acknowledge that we are here because of a deep, deep compounding pain, levels of unimaginable grief that stay with us, lives senselessly lost to violence. And I hope that we can sit with that as we continue our resolve for the months, years, and perhaps decades ahead, as we work together to achieve the outcomes that our residents deserve. Each and every single one of us deserves a safe and equitable, supportive community, no matter your age, race, gender, how much money you make, who you love, your zip code. Each of us should feel safe and supported and able to live a vibrant and full life. And so when our teens and our kids are fully taken from us too soon, it must be a full, comprehensive reaction. Hennepin's response over the last couple years has totaled about $10 million, and I expect for that to be just the beginning. We've been focusing and seeking to partner on hospital-based interventions, focusing on where disparities are along age, so our young people, those who identify as women or non-binary, our youth who are LGBTQ plus IA, who are oftentimes not finding a safe place to be. And so I am here to help to represent the holistic aspects that we must be committed to moving forward. Violence impacts every single person in our community. The response should be holistic. It should be centered on the individual and the family. And I'm really, really grateful to get to be among the individuals who will not rest until each of us, our families, our kids, our loved ones, are safe where they live, where they work, where they play. So with that, I believe I might be handing it off to the MC or to my dear friend, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you all. It is a great honor of mine to be here with you. Congratulations, Commissioner Irene Fernando. It is an incredible achievement and a historic one for our county, for our city, and our state. Thank you, Mayor Frey, for the partnership in thinking about what it means to reimagine public safety and what it means to keep all of our communities safe. I had the opportunity to work with Josh when I was a staffer at City Hall for Councilmember Andrew Johnson, and this work of figuring out how do we look at crime and crime prevention in a holistic way through the lens of public health has been an important aspect of the work that I did at City Hall and the work that I continue to advocate for. When we were looking at passing a historic gun reform package of the first time in 30 years, it was important for myself and some of my colleagues to bring these ideas forward and advocate for $720 million of those of that funding to be allocated to crime prevention and interruption, to also make sure that we would get $120 million allocated in addressing mental health issues in our communities. We know that this has to be a partnership. It has to be a partnership between healthcare providers. It has to be a partnership between the county, the state, the city, and it has to be one that is garnering investment from the federal government. And so I'm incredibly proud of the money that was allocated federally, that we are now able to deliver $500,000 of that money to come to Hennepin County to make sure that this work that has started over 6 years ago will continue, and it will be one that is impactful. We know that this crime prevention program is the only one, NextStep program is the only one that exists in our state, and it is housed here. Because we know that Hennepin County, especially Minneapolis and the surrounding cities, deal with special needs. And when you have those kind of needs, it needs to be invested in. And so I know that this investment is going to help families heal, is going to make sure those that are hurt do not hurt, is going to help end the continued cycle of violence that our communities have dealt with, that continues to pain all of us, and it's going to help make sure our city, our county, and our state is one where people continue to come to live, survive, and thrive. So again, thank you all for having me and for continuing to do this important work on understanding that it is through collaboration that we will serve the constituents that we have in our city, county, and state.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for your leadership and for your money. We appreciate both, and the funding is so critically important, obviously, to these endeavors. And thank you to our chairwoman. Next, I'd like to bring up our Commissioner of Public Safety here in Cedric Alexander. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. The Office of Community Safety, which was initiated by Mayor Frey last year, coordinate 5 safety departments. And of course, that includes 911, emergency management, fire, police, and of course, neighborhood safety. The Department of Neighborhood Safety is a new department which houses the former Office of Violence Prevention, probably a title that most of you are probably most familiar with. The city, of course, elevated the programs to a department to recognize the importance of violence prevention as a safety strategy. And that certainly has been and certainly has demonstrated itself as that over the last number of months that I've been here. NextStep program is an example of a successful partnership across a variety of jurisdictions and hospitals across this region, all working together to support victims of violent crime. This is a very important piece of what we do every day in public safety. NextStep is the next step to helping people bring their lives back together, particularly after a traumatic event. And so I want to take the honor of really introducing the person who's the interim director of neighborhood safety, and is doing a tremendous job and is joined with this community and has motivated and inspired people who work under his command to continue to do the great work in this community. So let me introduce, if I could, Interim Director of Neighborhood Safety, Josh Peterson. Josh.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that wonderful introduction and your support and your leadership. And thanks to all the elected leaders here with us today. So I'm Josh Peterson. I am the Interim Director of the Neighborhood Safety Department for the City of Minneapolis. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here to share a little bit with community about NextStep and what it is. So by some indicators, notably the number of homicides and gunshot wound victims, violent crime was down last year in Minneapolis, about 15 to 20%. And I think it's important that we recognize those successes, but I also think it's important that we recognize that that's not enough. One gunshot wound victim is one too many. And I think that that's really one reason why it's so important that we continue to do this work and to talk about this work. And so for folks listening today, a few things that I want folks to know. The first is that if you come here or to one of the other partner hospitals with NextStep, you're going to get great medical care. But what you may not know is that you're also going to get great care if you come as a victim of a violent injury to help address all of the aspects of your wounds that may not be the physical aspects of your wounds. Those services come through NextStep, as you've heard about, which is a voluntary service that helps interrupt cycles of violence. And that's for folks who show up to any one of our 3 partnering hospitals, so HCMC, North Memorial, or Abbott Northwestern, with a violent assault injury. And as Mayor Frey mentioned, since 2016, NextStep has served over 900 folks. So our elected leaders articulated very well the power and the promise of this work. I'm going to try to fill in a few of the gaps here for you all. For one thing, as they've mentioned, I have been here since the beginning with NextStep, and so I'll provide just a little bit of history. So I started with the City of Minneapolis in 2012, and at that time I'd heard about some attempts to get a hospital-based violence intervention program off the ground with HCMC. And I asked, can I take that on? That sounds interesting. And to my satisfaction, my supervisor said, yes, please run with that. So I reached out to HCMC and found some champions who, again, to my satisfaction, were thinking, we really need a service like this at HCMC. It's important that we are actively involved in stopping cycles of violence. So we spent about 2 years talking to national experts, talking to community locally, looking at the data, and planning what a program would look like. In 2016, we launched NextStep here at HCMC. And we launched that with 2 staff initially, one of whom is here today, Mr. Farji Shahir. And those 2 staff really helped us get that program off the ground. We operated here at HCMC for about 2 years, and really in that time recognized that while we were providing great services, there were still gaps to be filled. So roughly about half the victims of violent assault injuries were coming here, but the other half were going to other hospitals. And so we felt it was really important to expand this effort elsewhere. So we began conversations with North Memorial, and in 2018, we launched at North Memorial. In 2020, we were approached by Abbott Northwestern and Ilhan, who said, we've heard great things about this NextStep program. We feel that there's a role to play for us in this conversation around helping to interrupt cycles of violence. So we worked with Abbott Northwestern, and in 2021, we were able to launch there. So a couple of things I want to highlight today about NextStep and why it's important as part of our neighborhood safety approach to violence prevention and intervention. NextStep embodies a lot of what we stand for in our Department of Neighborhood Safety. One of those things is that a lot of our work is behind the scenes. So much of the city's community safety work shows up in a very visible way. Police, fire, 911, those things are all very visible. Equally as important are some of the things that happen behind the scenes that folks don't always see or experience. You don't necessarily experience NextStep unless you show up here with an injury. But NextStep is always working behind the scenes to interrupt cycles of violence. And that's sort of exemplary of a lot of the services that we provide in the Neighborhood Safety Department. The next piece that also NextStep embodies with regard to our work is multidisciplinary partnership. So when we talk about public health approaches to community safety, we recognize that there is a need for every sector to be working together. So we've got folks who are in public health, who are in healthcare, we have our elected leaders, we have schools, we have parks, we have law enforcement, and all of those folks are at the table. And this NextStep is really a great embodiment of that. The next piece I want to highlight is that violence prevention and intervention work is really about immediate response and long-term work. Violence is not something we're going to solve immediately overnight. But we do need to respond when violence does happen, and NextStep does both of those things. So when someone shows up here with an injury, NextStep responds within 30 minutes, and it begins providing services immediately. But those services don't just end in the immediate, they last for a long time. So NextStep staff are engaging with participants, providing long-term community-based services. So that focus on the immediate and the long-term is a key part of NextStep and a key part of what we do in neighborhood safety. The other piece that I want to highlight that is true of NextStep and a lot of our work and a lot of the city's work is that it's driven by evidence, but guided by community. So hospital-based violence intervention is not a new idea. There are hospital-based violence intervention programs that have been operating across the country for years. And they are really rooted in evidence. So there have been independent evaluations done of these kinds of programs, and those evaluations have shown that these kinds of programs have impact. And so as we are in all of our work, we are driven by that research and that evidence. But we also recognize that we need to bring community to the table at all times in this work. And so we are driven by community both in the sense that we are motivated by community, motivated by our participants, and also in the planning of these kinds of services. And then the last piece I want to touch on is just that violence is really complex. It's multifaceted. You can't point to one single driver of violence. And in the same way, solutions to violence then have to be complex and multifaceted. And NextStep is a great example of that. When we bring folks into NextStep, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Every person who comes to NextStep has their own unique, diverse needs. And one of the beautiful things about NextStep is that it's able to attend to each of those diverse, unique needs of participants. And that, to me, exemplifies what our approach to violence prevention and intervention looks like. I'm now going to hand it over to Contrell Galloway, who is the program director for NextStep here at Hennepin Healthcare.
Contrell Galloway, Kentrallgalloway, director for the NextStep program. First of all, I just want to thank all of our elected leaders for supporting the program. We couldn't do it without the funding, and I also want to thank my team. This program wouldn't go without my team over here. All who have lived experience about being involved in some type of gun violence or some type of violent crime. Because we do this work. This work is not everyone can do this work. So this work is like a heart to us. So the NextStep program, we are what I call disruptors. We disrupt the system. We make sure that everyone who comes into our hospital via violent crime or GSW, again, gets equitable treatment, because sometimes there's a lot of stigma attached to folks who come into the hospital, or when a family shows up, there's roadblocks that's put in the way. My team is the one who takes down those roadblocks, who educates our providers to let them know that that's not equitable treatment or that's not culturally appropriate. So that's what we're there for. We're there to make sure that everything is right. We want to rehumanize people. We want to talk to the families that they're coming up so we can stop them from going back out in the community to do something irrational. Because like I always say, hurt people do hurt people. So it's our job to heal people socially, emotionally, and mentally. That's what my staff is there for. And with our new federal funding, we're going to expand it, because NextStep is just a cog of trying to solve this big problem that we have within our community. So we're going to be working with community partners to also offer more mental health services on top of the anger management that comes with that when folks are experiencing being a survivor of a violent crime. And I use the word survivor because I don't like the word victim. Victim shames folks. We need to start using the word survivors, because that's what those folks are. They are survivors. And they're not those folks either, they're our folks. So we have to start saying our folks because it's our community. And as we do this work, I just want to also, you'll hear more from my staff, Quincy Jones and Mr. Vincent Jones, who's our honored guest, just about how our service works.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Quincy Jones. I'm a case manager here with the NextStep program. And I mean, this is, for myself, a very unique experience too, and a different lens that I see kind of the city and the work that everyone is putting in collectively together. Because I'm from Minnesota. You know, I moved here when I was 9 years old from Chicago, and I've lived in North Minneapolis and South Minneapolis most of my childhood, and also, you know, through my teen years. And this program is very unique to me because I've lost several different friends and just people I've known from the city and throughout the years. And I've seen this cycle of violence over and over and over again. And to work for a program that is hospital-based, not just community-based, because we do go out into the community and work with a number of different programs. But it being hospital-based, I look at ourselves as more like a bridge between the community and those who have suffered so much trauma, you know, that we experience on a daily basis. And, you know, with NextStep, we truly have to walk the journey with everyone, you know. we see people at their worst and we've seen people at their best. And we've helped people at their worst, become a better version of themselves as well. With the Next Step program, the resources honestly are limitless. Well, we help out with a number of different things. If someone needs job placement, if someone needs relocation, and it's not just with funds and things like that, it's also support emotionally and mentally as well. We go into some of the rooms and some people are really at their wits' end at that time. In the middle of the night is the shift that I used to work, and now I'm on days, but we go into the room and someone's wheels are turning because they've been shot a number of different times, stabbed or assaulted, and they feel like everything is ending. And we use that, and I've been told by a number of different people who've worked here that this is a golden moment. Not just a golden moment for them to realize their true potential, but things that they wanted to do in this world and places that they wanted to go that they've never thought possible. So the golden moment is when you feel like you could have lost your life and you've come back from that now, and now you have an opportunity to go chase a lot of the dreams that you've had before. And I challenge everyone here, to think of life in a golden moment every single day and walk the kind of the experience of the people who are on those beds at those times, because we'll learn our power as well as a community. I don't look at it as a neighborhood problem or a specific minority problem. I look at it as a community problem. And we are all one community, and through accountability, we can all help each other. And I thought a long time of what words I would say when I stood up here. But those words were truly from my heart, because at bare minimum, I truly believe that the average kid that is going through that type of pain and sorrow has an opportunity at bare minimum to stand here in front of you and with a mayor and be myself. And that is truly at bare minimum what their potential is, given the right resources. I want to bring someone up, is Vincent Jones. He's a member of NextStep in the program, so I'll let him come up and say a couple of words.
My name is Vincent Jones, and I was a victim. I remember the night I got stabbed up a little bit, and I was in the hospital, and this lady came to me. She said her name was Nicole, and I was blacked out. I really didn't know what was going on at the time, and she told me to sign this paper. And I signed the paper, and I thought it was a joke, and I was just laying there bleeding and everything, and I came to, and then I got home, and the next day I called, and they have been helping me out, and they brought me through a lot. They helped me out a lot, me and my son. I had just lost my girlfriend a year ago. She overdosed accidentally, so it was just me and my son. It's been rough, but these people, this group here, they've been right by me, and they've been helping me with everything that I need, and God is good, and I'm going to keep on continuing to help everybody I can help, and send them here. If they come to me, I'll tell them, go to them, because they're good people,
And I just want to briefly close with a couple of notes of thanks and acknowledgement. NextStep wouldn't be possible without all of our funding partners. So NextStep does receive funding from the City of Minneapolis, from Hennepin County. We now are operating with federal funds, both through the American Rescue Plan Act and also through a new grant from the Office for Victims of Crime. And we also are funded through a partnership with the Minnesota Office of Justice Programs, and so I want to thank and acknowledge them as well. I also just want to say again that this program cannot operate without all of the amazing staff team members. So we've got Larry and Nicole and Rico and Quincy and Nicole and Thea, and I apologize if I'm missing any more. Please forgive me. Shauna, thank you. Thank you, Shauna and Brandon. Thank you. Thank you. This is dangerous.
Totally.
And beyond our frontline staff, there are other, that's right. There are other staff from within HCMC who support this too. So we have our finance and accounting staff here as well who are a critical part of this. So just thank you to all of the partners. We also have our partners from Ilhan at Abbott Northwestern here, Laura. So just, again, this is really truly a partnership across disciplines, across systems, and that is such a unique thing in our world, and I think really just needs to be lifted up and celebrated. So thank you all.
We'll open up to any questions you might have.
You mentioned the $500,000 in funding. Several of you mentioned the federal funding. Is that money that's already kind of hit and being used, and what specifically is that being tailored towards?
The money has not hit yet, but it will be used for, like I said, expanding our mental health service providing and for anger management. We're going to partner with Empower Therapeutics and Wellspring Second Chance to do a wraparound services for survivors of gun violence to address the mental health aspect of it and also the anger that comes with it, too.
Is there any other ways you're hoping to expand the program in the next few years, or ways you're hoping to grow? Any areas you would like to reach better?
I always have mixed bags when people ask me about do I want to expand, because that means that more folks are getting hurt out there. But yes, I'm hoping in the future we are looking at going at another hospital. I know Children's has made a couple inquiries about us coming over there, so we're currently trying to work out to see if we can provide our service over there.
And I'll note just briefly, the program since its inception 6-7 years ago has seen nearly continuous growth, adding additional staff, adding additional employees, expanding it from one hospital in Hennepin Health to 3 in North Memorial and Abbott Northwestern. And so I anticipate that the program will continue to expand simply because it's working, and we are operating off of the data. And when you see only 3% of individuals ending up back in the hospital for violence or gunshot wound, that's progress that I think we should be able to get behind. Any other questions? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.